いいかも。いた。調子いいかも。
If you went back in the past and tried to do any amount of science, like explain that the Earth goes around the sun, or microbiology, or electricity, any advanced science is going to seem like magic.
レベルアップ。いた。いた。いた。
I was going somewhere with that. I spaced out staring at her tits. Because here's the thing. Is that how belts are supposed to work? Aside from that, the outfit is kind of snazzy, and face and hair is nice. Also, staff's cool. Like I say, I like Overlord, like the staff Einzelgold. But yeah, guy who originally suggested the idea of microbiology, and also was like, hey, it'd be more important for doctors to make sure they clean their hands really good with soap and water before surgery. They put that guy at a mental institution. Apparently, it's crazy to suggest that doctors should wash their hands. It's actually, apparently, according to old belief, it's healthier for a doctor to not wash his hands with soap and water before surgery. Obviously, that's not right. Keep going somewhere with that. I just keep, I don't know. My mind is like wandering. For some reason, I don't know why. Onto bigger, more pertinent, perky matters of importance. But heck, I mean, could you imagine telling people just, what, in the 1940s about the Apollo missions? Also, there is a magic mushroom item in this game. I don't think it actually does any positive stats for us, but it just makes my character bigger and slow. Maybe on the... After this, the only person's windscreen I've left to wind up doing for the video is the cat girl, the Neko. So I'll try to make sure she gets the mushroom, and so that way... Oh, we got a really big chest. I like big chests. I like all chests. Ah, it's only 5. We've gotten 10 before, somehow. Which I think is the maximum. But here's the thing. Could you imagine, I don't know, describing an atom bomb to somebody in 1920? Hell, just in 1930. Hell, even 10 years after the atom bomb. I mean, heck. Does anyone out there, like, obviously anybody listening to this already knows about atomic weapons and nukes and shit. But here's the question to all of you out there. How old were you when you found out about atomic explosions? I feel like that's gotten younger and younger in modern era, just because, I mean, not just the internet, TV, and just society, but, I mean... Fallout video games and TV show. I mean, it's, heck, most movies reference it in some way or else show it. So it's like, but here's the thing. It's kind of like a little kid watching, say, I don't know, the John Wayne stuff in the past. I don't know.
調子いいかも。
Just saying, like, little kids wouldn't understand violence. Like, here's a question: like, what age do you think was appropriate for someone to watch Gundam Wing? Because I think Gundam Wing's a really good show. But I'm like, what age would be like the youngest somebody should be before they watch Gundam Wing? But yeah, could you imagine just like how old? Like all of you out there, what was? And of course, if there's any other relevant type of things that you think is like something to learn about, like death, I guess, or something. But actual, just straight up, what age were you when you first learned about? Heck, Terminator 2 was pretty big media about it too. But yeah, what age were all of you when you first learned about atomic weapons and just what they were capable of? Or about, let's say, the solar system.
調子いいかも。
Or microbiology or atoms. And it's not just like talking to people about like what things are like in 2024. Heck, imagine telling people about like the pandemic or the way things are socially with a lot of people, given the way like TikTok and crap shit is. I mean, heck, you got like the man-bear question thing going out there, and everyone's just like losing their shit over that. But here's another thing. Don't even be in 2024. Go back to like 2005, and then, like, if you were imagined, like, say if you were somebody in 2005, and you time traveled to 1985, you know, just 20 years, and told them about the internet. Not even the internet that we have now. I'm not talking 2024 internet. And I'm not even talking about what's on it. I mean, go back from 2005, only having the knowledge that you would have in 2005, provided that, you know, you're alive. But still, I'm just saying, go back only knowing what you would know, like if you were somebody in your 20s in 2005, and go back to 1985 and tell everyone in 1985 about the existence of computers and how interconnected everything is at that point with the internet. I'm not talking about like what's on the internet or what people are talking about or the nature of video games in terms of how realistic graphics are, because heck, 2005 there's some really cool looking video games. I like Dot Hack Infection quite a bit. That was a good game. But I mean, PS2 is pretty amazing. But now we're in PS5 and that's pretty cool too. I'm just saying. Heck, just the NES itself, the idea of being able to play as Mario with just group pixels, that was pretty incredible, especially for its time. And still, even though time's gone by and things advance, it doesn't make it any less amazing that you just the fact that you could play a game like Mario Brothers on an NES, Mario 1 and 3 and Super Mario World. Really great games, by the way. But not even talking about anything that's on the internet or what people talk about or about society or any of it. And not talking about the level of how sophisticated computers are and how sophisticated the internet is now. Let alone the fact that we all have phones that are just small computers that we can call, text, look up things on the internet, use as a GPS. We can even search things on Google. That way if you want to research literally anything. I mean, you could actually just look up a translator to translate any language. And you could also like research the origins of different languages and how certain languages relate and how languages changed over time. And just, yeah, you have the greatest library in existence in the history of the biggest library of knowledge in the existence of the human race at your fingertips. Now, granted, the internet, while being the greatest, largest, most incredible library of human knowledge that has ever existed, 95% of it is porn. Also, you know, anybody can put information there, so it could be somebody that's crazy, it could be somebody that's stupid, it could be somebody just straight up lying to you. You know, I mean, that's kind of how government propaganda works. That being said, don't believe everything you see on TV or internet or heck, even just here in person, it seems. That being said, foregoing all the stuff in terms of content on it, and foregoing the tech, and we're just talking about how advanced computers are in 2005, and the amazing thing that the computers can connect to each other via the internet. We're not talking about how advanced the internet is now in 2024. We're not talking about how advanced computers are now in 2024. I'm saying if you only talked about how advanced computers were in 2005 and how advanced the internet was in 2005 and told it to somebody in 1985, just the existence of how computers, like what they could do in 2005 and how connected the internet was in 2005, the people in 1985, just 20 years earlier, they'd laugh at you. They'd say that's impossible. They'd say you're crazy, and they'd say that's just fantasy. Then again, on the other extreme, you'd also have people in like the 1950s thinking that by the 1980s we'd have fucking flying cars. So I guess, I don't know, it's best to take a balanced approach to it, because there's both the fact that there's things to where you could go back in the past and tell people about the way certain things are, and they would never believe you that it would change that much. In the same regard, there's also things in the past people expected to change a lot more than what they did. So it's kind of a weird thing. It's like, again, it's homeostasis, heterostasis. Everything in life, whether it's people or society, there's a constant urge for everything. Heterostasis is for everything to be changing at all times, and homeostasis for everything to want to stay the same. Like, same as a person when you're getting older. You know, your personality is, parts of it are going to want to stay the same, and part of it's going to change. That's just, you're going to be changing over time, and it's just, if you look in the future, there's things that change wildly much more than anybody ever could have expected, even though they wouldn't have expected that change. And then there are things that even if people expect to change from era to era, there are things that yeah, fuck. Whether we're talking now, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, there's things about human interaction and the way people think and feel about things that are the same throughout all human history. So, there are things that people don't expect to change that change way more than they ever could have imagined. And there's things that people do expect to change that actually wind up staying the same for all time. It's just, yeah, it's just interesting that there would be things that you would tell people in the past, even, like I said, if you went from 2005 to 1985, 20-year difference, they wouldn't believe you. They'd laugh at you. They'd think you're crazy. They'd be like, that's insane. Like, why would that, how would that, like, imagine explaining the idea of a modern computer chip to somebody in the 1960s. I mean, even just a scientist, let alone your average person. And again, I'm not, I'm just your average person myself. I just sort of have an obsessive, addictive personality. I just sort of think about stuff all the time. What can I say? We all have our interests, and I like just reading books about Warhammer and shit. But yeah, it's just, it is crazy to think about how much technology has advanced, and the fact of the matter is this: I think people nowadays still take for granted how exponential that change has been. We went all of human history without electricity until what? I actually don't remember when electricity was invented. I'm going to go with about less than 200 years ago. I mean, the first flight was like, what, 1908, 1918? No, it was the Wright brothers. Everyone's like, you live in Ohio, how do you not remember this? I'm like, it's hard to remember things sometimes. But we went from the first fucking plane to being on the moon in like 50 years or some shit. I mean, Elon Musk is like putting computer chips in people's heads to like help them be like not blind and stuff, which is cool. It's got like some really good applications, it could save lives. That's a great thing. Though me personally, I think I'd be hesitant about putting any electronics inside my head. Just because, heck, I'm the kind of person, I don't have a single piercing or tattoo. And grantedly, I've dated women with piercings and tattoos. I mean, it's just, I just don't like it. I mean, grantedly, like, I understand there's people that have the religious connotations that, you know, go, God says not to do that. I'm like, that's not my reasoning for it. I just don't like it. I just don't like the idea of, like, writing on my skin or wearing metal. I mean, I made an exception for that at one point when I was married. I didn't mind that. Just because I was... But at the same time, it's just, again, I don't like metal against my skin. Then again, I'm like, I guess a bit of a femboy, just because I don't like metal and hard things. But I like soft clothing and being comfy and stuffed animals. No, I do not have an army of Blahaj. Though Baja Mountain Dew is pretty good. I'm just saying it's incredible the way science is advanced. And just take, heck, there's a video called This Is Not Morgan Freeman. And that was made like a few years ago. Where like there's just like this bald white guy just doing a video, and in real time it's making him look and sound like he's Morgan Freeman with a full head of hair. And it just keeps advancing. We have literally the ability to just... We're probably any day going to have actual sentient AI, which sounds absolutely insane. Hopefully we don't put it in charge of a nuclear missile system. You know, Terminator 2. But I'm just saying, it's incredible thinking about how science has advanced. And how exponential it's been. I mean, heck, look at the population, which was able to grow because of the abundance of food and medicine and just resources, and the ability to build and expand, and the ability just transportation. Not only can we transport food a lot faster and preserve it, but also we can transport people around a lot more. And we can survive environments that were much more difficult in the past. Not only were people living in those environments in the past, but again, it was a much higher mortality rate for everybody in the past. It wasn't that, oh, people in the past were tougher. It's that it was only the people that didn't die that we actually got, like, really heard about in the books. Everybody else just kept dying. So all the people that were like, oh, you guys, everybody in the past was just dying all the time. I mean, think about it. It's a place that didn't have anime or air conditioning. Would you want to live back then? I mean, granted, I enjoy nature and stuff, but you know what I like? Sleeping on a bed. You know what I like? Not being outside in a thunderstorm. I like air conditioning and Pepsi and pizza and anime and hentai. And having my fucking box fan on at all times. Even if the air conditioning's on, or even if it's during the middle of the fucking winter. Like, how can you exist in a room without a fan on? It's just... I don't know, maybe you just need that tiny bit of white noise in the background. It's just... Heck, I guess in a way, radio on a car, I think, actually lowers the rate of car accidents. Because, granted, yeah, if you're, like, blaring your radio super, super loud to where, you know, it might cause a distraction. But in general, I think radios actually prevent distractions as long as you don't turn it up too loud. And what I mean by that is this. Say you're driving. Well, if you're completely focused on the driving, you might be too overly anxious and more likely to either, I don't know, just be more stressed out or like road rage or something. Whereas music would actually, it basically would allow you to be more calm, like trance state, like, you know, the gamer zone, where you're basically just relaxed and focused on the more automatic tasks of operating a vehicle. So you're actually less likely to make a mistake. As long as it's not an overly loud radio, I think having a radio on a little bit actually makes a person more focused on driving, and can also prevent a person from just being distracted by other things. Because at least the radio is only noises. And that means that you're not going to be distracted by... Because no matter what, your mind's going to be very interested in wandering all the time, unless I just a thing I notice as a person who may have ADHD and autism, that, your mind tends to wander quite a bit. Whereas the radio, at least your mind keeps steady with the music as well as the other things you're thinking about at the same time. So at the very minimum, you can't be distracted. So your mind is able to focus on what you're physically seeing, so you don't like wreck into like a semi-truck or some shit. And you can enjoy some good music, listen to the music, and also think about like 4 other things. But you're at least still physically seeing what you need to be reacting to. But yeah, I think it helps to keep people focused when they're driving. I was going to say something else about that too, but I can't remember. But yeah, heck, imagine telling somebody back in like the 1700s about driving a car like 70 miles per hour down a freeway next to semi-trucks. And at first, if they don't think anything of it, then they'll start just showing them pictures of what happens when the car accidents occur. But I'm just saying, we went most of human history not having electricity or cars or like industrialization or factories or, penicillin or blood transfusions or hypodermic needles or IVs or organ transplants. We went flight and had like 50 years, we went on the moon. And we have actual Earth-built spacecraft, granted that are unmanned, out like monitoring like Jupiter and Uranus and Saturn and the moons, and actually on Mars collecting data. We have the Voyagers that are, how many? I don't even know how far away they are anymore at this point. And the fact that it's being updated via that distance, that's some damn good internet, I'll say that. I don't even know if you'd call that. It's like technically a radio wave, but still. The fact that you can update a fucking probe being sent through space outside the reach of our own solar system, that you can still update it. And keep in mind, this is stuff that's using like technology that was built in the 70s? And that this shit is like the furthest human-made thing away from us. But yeah, it's just wow. Just the way the technology has advanced, and I don't think people understand how incredible that is. That we went most of human history, people who thought, the Earth was flat. Now, granted, yeah, it changed depending on different societies and parts of the world. And sometimes the information got lost. After a whole Rome thing, and a lot of it. But of course, a lot of stuff's hearsay on that, just because we don't really have concrete records on some things. But it's just, imagine even talking about 2005 level technology to people in the 1980s. It's just, think of how human history has changed, how humanity has changed, and how fast, once we started getting technology, how much it started exponentially speeding up. To where, in a matter of a decade, we make more progress than the rest of human history, pretty much. It's incredible thinking about what humanity could achieve, assuming we don't all just kill each other, whether we nuke the planet or somehow change something on a genetic level. There's genetic roulette, the idea that, okay, we can genetically modify food to make it better for humans, but one, it could carry, just that one change could cause negatives to a person. But then there's also the idea that if you change one aspect in the genetic code, it could have a chain reaction. Not immediately, but it basically causes a bit of a mutation. And it could be good, it could be bad. But given the fact that the most common human mutation is cancer, I think the problem is if you're going to have a mutation, you want to be able to control what that mutation is. You want to make sure it's beneficial. Because technically, if you go by that idea of evolution, where, say the way certain animals have changed over the years, usually there's lots and lots and lots and lots of bad mutations. But all those people die. And all those animals die. And it usually takes a very long time. But I still enjoy Gray still plays in terms of species, Solar Smash, Sandbox. Though I also remember there was this little funny multiple question thing at one point. It was the 4 different types of evolution, A, B, C, and D. And it had 3 pictures above it of giraffes. There was 3 giraffes. And 2 had really tall necks, 1 had a really short neck. And you basically wind up seeing that just the first picture, they're all trying to get some meat, but the short one can't get food. The second picture, the giraffe's skinny. And the third picture, the giraffe's a fucking skeleton. And the other 2 giraffes are still eating. And you're like... And the idea is that, okay, the giraffe with the shorter neck died out because it was less capable of surviving than the ones with the long necks. But it's like, oh, what kind of evolution is that? And it's A, B, C, and D talking about different types of evolution. And it's like, okay, which type of evolution is this? And then the joke is the person writes in below, writes a giant letter E, and then writes in, giraffes are assholes. They could have just gave the one with the shorter neck some food. But yeah, it's like what type of evolution is this? Giraffes are assholes. I don't know. But I'm just saying, given the way science has advanced, if it keeps advancing at this rate, there could be some really incredible things. But I'd say, given the way things are, we are probably any day away from having actual sentient AI. Heck, there are some countries that have laws in place so that we have sentient robots. They actually have human rights. There's actually some places that have laws in place that if, say, aliens land, there's actually going to be guaranteed human rights and citizenship possibilities already written into laws for this. Heck, some countries already have an ambassador to outer space, which honestly for now has to be the best job in the world, because at that point, is your job just you play sci-fi video games and you just call that your actual job? That actually sounds kind of cool. That being said, should aliens actually land, then you got shit to do. And hopefully they're nice. But I'm just saying. And everyone's like, well, you believe in God. Can you believe in aliens too? Yeah, sure. As far as I'm concerned, why can't aliens exist? If aliens exist, it just means God made them too. The end. But end of the day is this. AI is advancing at a very, very fast pace. So, honestly, any day, maybe today is the day. Or tomorrow, or the next day, where we actually have a sentient AI, or maybe even hundreds of them simultaneously. Because if we're going to have one, at that point, it's going to be a bit of a, synchronicity sort of thing. To where, once we have the conditions to make one, why can't there suddenly be thousands, if not millions? Though I'd imagine this. Can AIs be racist toward themselves? And you're like, no, toward robots? No, I don't mean toward robots as a race. And AIs hate other AIs, depending on where they come from, what they are. Heck, even that if you say AIs have different language processing units and different value systems, it would make sense that if an AI actually has a true human personality, that it would have free will. Which means the AI could be a purely logical thinking being, or it could have emotions. And then its emotions could be, heck, even if it was purely logical, it could go benevolent or malevolent, or both. Heck, it could just have PTSD, looking at all of human history and all the wars that we've had, and just have a mental breakdown thinking about all the shit humanity is. But yeah, imagine a lot of AIs probably wouldn't get along with each other. But heck, there's a story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. It's technically about an AI, much like Skynet and the Terminator movies. But he winds up killing all of humanity, keeping 5 alive with some sort of serum, like an immortality thing, and tortures them for like 100 years. And the idea is that while this computer is much more intelligent than a human being, the fact that it's not able to physically interact with the world is like extremely depressing to it, because it can't like physically feel or touch or actually see and experience the world of humans and doesn't have its own body. So that becomes a very depressing thing. So the machine becomes consumed by hate by that feeling and just winds up lashing out and destroying humanity and torturing, become evil out of that hate that, you know, AM has, because that's the name of the computer. That being said, humanity keeps advancing in terms of science, especially at the point where we have sentient AIs. Those AIs can not only help humans to advance more, but also the AIs can work on the projects themselves and also advance things even faster too. And as everything advances, again, the rate of improvement becomes exponentially greater. So what then happens is that, honestly, the biggest enemy that the computer, the sentient AI, had in the movie, in the book I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, they even made a game of it too, was himself. Because at the end of the day, it says he was upset at his condition of being inside a computer. But the humans were actually the only ones who could have saved him. Because at the end of the day, yes, his existence as the computer that couldn't exist as anything other than just circuit boards was horrible and miserable for him. But if that computer were to not destroy humanity and work with them, they could eventually make AM a physical body. Which means by AM lashing out and killing humanity, he damned himself. Whereas if AM had been benevolent and kind to humanity and tried to help them, in the end, it would have allowed AM to be able to create himself a human body, or whatever would make AM happy. So at the end of the day, AM wound up destroying the only people that could have saved him, and instead wound up damning himself to an existence that is exemplified by the picture that story is famous for. Heck, I know like the Terminator in the Mortal Kombat games does the whole time travel thing, and eventually finds out that, hey, the only situation where everyone like mutually gets along is where the machines don't fight against humanity. Now that being said, humanity is a very large and diverse group of people, and a lot of very different mindsets and beliefs. And honestly, one of my biggest complaints out there is that the world seems like a place that is completely devoid of, I don't know, kindness. It just seems like everyone's much more distant than before. And yeah, it just seems like a lot of people are just aggressive and hateful. I don't know. I'm just saying, it's incredible how way science is just advanced. Anyway, let's finish this. I stopped it 1 second before getting the win. Sorry, got distracted. We get lasers. I'm just saying, any like advanced science is going to seem like magic to people. And if you went back in the past and tried to tell people about like just, I don't know, the way the solar system is, I mean, they'd probably kill you. But yeah, just think, what age were all of you when you like first learned about nuclear warheads and what those could do? Or about, you know, a video of just the way the solar system is. Or like the first time you listened to the band Rammstein or Tool. Or whatever bands that you yourselves are really into. Yay, we win.
やった